Inside was a USB drive, folders of documents, and a letter written in Mom's handwriting. "My dearest Chloe," it began, "by now Madeline has probably ingrained herself completely into your life. I've known about her for years." I read it twice, hands trembling. Mom had discovered Dad's affair with Madeline 6 months before her diagnosis. She had hired a private investigator who documented everything: hotel receipts, messages, photos of them together while she was picking me up from soccer practice. The report spanned months. Photographs showed Dad and Madeline entering hotels across 3 cities. Texts made my stomach churn. Notes like, "She's taking Chloe to her mother this weekend. Come over." One message: "Sometimes I wish she would just disappear." That last one was from Dad, 4 months before Mom got sick. I flipped through statements showing dinners I never knew about, jewelry gifts that never reached Mom, a lease for a downtown apartment absent from family records. The documents revealed more: financial records showing Dad and Madeline systematically diverting money from Mom's family trust, intended for me, into offshore accounts. Mom's family had built one of the city's largest investment firms over 3 generations. Dad had been a rising advisor, and Mom had mentored him, helped him rise to partner. The trust was her legacy, and I was supposed to inherit it. I found spreadsheets tracking millions funneled through shell companies, fake clients, and manipulated investments. Funds moved across a dozen countries. Dad's signature was on every critical document. Madeline's appeared on most. Medical records suggested Mom's sudden decline may not have been so natural. Strange test results, unusual prescriptions, toxicology reports she had commissioned privately, all noted odd. Patterns after meals Dad prepared. Lab tests on hair samples showed elevated heavy metals. Notes from 3 independent specialists confirmed abnormal disease progression. Mom wrote, "I can't prove anything. By the time you read this, it won't matter for me, but I couldn't leave you unprotected." The final pages detailed her counterplan: a secret trust in my name, the house and business Dad assumed he controlled, automatically mine at 18. Lawyers Dad didn't know existed insured it. "I've made sure what is rightfully yours stays yours," she wrote. I sat in the bank's private room for hours, absorbing everything. When I left, the grief and confusion that had ruled me for 3 years had transformed into something precise and resolute. I didn't confront Dad immediately. I didn't flee or call the authorities. I chose a path even more daunting. I became the perfect daughter. "I want to understand everything," I told them. "The business, finance, law, everything I need to reclaim what's rightfully mine." The judge gave a knowing nod. "Your mother anticipated this. She prepared instructions in case you chose this path." For the next 18 months, I led 2 lives. At home and school, I was the model daughter Madeline proudly showcased at dinners and galas. But 3 nights a week, I slipped away to intensive study sessions and practical training with my secret team. The forensic accountant taught me to interpret financial statements, spot deception, and navigate the intricate networks underpinning the family business. The lawyer guided me through corporate law, contracts, and legal frameworks that would eventually allow me to take control. The judge introduced me to his network: bankers, regulators, and executives who had admired Mom and were appalled by the betrayals she suffered. At the same time, I worked with Mom's lawyers, preparing the trust, compiling evidence, and solidifying the plan. I finished high school at 16, a year ahead of schedule. Dad and Madeline beamed with pride, his prodigy heading to Yale early with a full scholarship. What they didn't know, I reflected privately, was that I had also been taking online courses in business and finance, learning everything about the company and the hidden accounts they thought were secret. "We're proud of you," Dad said at the small family graduation party, flanked by a few close friends. "Not a soul from my school, no one who really knew me," Madeline added, arm draped over my shoulder for the photographer she'd hired. "The board is thrilled about your future with the firm," Dad added. I smiled, knowing that in less than 2 years, I would control that board entirely. The summer before college, Madeline proposed legal adoption. "You're my daughter in every meaningful way," she said, touching my cheek during lunch at her favorite extravagant restaurant. "We should formalize it before college." I studied her expression, searching for sincerity. There was a subtle tension around her eyes, a calculating glance at Dad, then back to me. This wasn't love. It was strategy. An adopted daughter would strengthen her claim on the family business if anything happened to him. I smiled, embraced her, and whispered that nothing could make me happier. "Let's celebrate," Dad said, signaling for the check. "Maybe a weekend in the Hamptons. We could invite the Prestons. Their son is at Harvard Law." "Perfect," I said silently, recalling the file I had compiled on the Prestons' failing software company and the mysterious transfer from one of Dad's shell corporations last year. That night, I convened an emergency meeting with my trustees. We gathered in the judge's study after I told Dad and Madeline I was spending the night with a friend celebrating graduation. "They want me to sign adoption papers," I explained. Does this affect our plan? The lawyer spread documents across the table. It could actually benefit us. Adoption requires financial disclosure. It gives us an updated view of their assets and doesn't interfere with your mother's trust. How much progress have we made? I asked. The accountant adjusted his glasses. We've traced 67% of the missing funds across 4 countries, enough for criminal charges. And the evidence about Mom's illness? The judge asked softly. This part was the hardest for me. Dad hadn't just betrayed Mom, he might have actively poisoned her. Medical experts couldn't definitively prove it, but patterns suggested foul play. We'll keep that separate for now, I decided. One battle at a time. As I prepared to leave, the judge handed me a small package. Your mother left this for you, to be opened when you were ready to reclaim what's yours. Inside was a vintage M-Lank pen, once used by my grandfather to sign Mom's first major acquisition. I carried it everywhere. A talisman, a promise. 2 weeks later, Mother's Day arrived. Madeline had orchestrated a grand event, brunches, photographers, a garden party for 30 guests. The adoption announcement would be the centerpiece. I spent the previous week preparing my gift, compiling documents, organizing evidence, and crafting the perfect presentation. The irony wasn't lost on me. This was the most thoughtful gift I had ever created for her. The morning of the party was sunny, ideal for her carefully curated event. Caterers arrived at 7, followed by florists, planners, and a small army transforming our backyard into an elegant venue. Nothing like the wild garden Mom had loved. I found Madeline in her dressing room, holding 2 nearly identical cream-colored dresses. What do you think? She asked. Dior or Chanel? The Chanel, I replied, noticing she immediately set aside the Dior I had chosen. I have something special for you, I said, handing her an elegantly wrapped box with a silver bow. Oh, you didn't have to, she murmured, a faint trace of genuine surprise crossing her face. We both knew I had never given her a Mother's Day gift before, and today's adoption announcement made it even more ironic. I'd rather you open it now, I insisted. It's personal. Her eyes lingered on mine, hesitating. Finally, she reached for the box. Inside was a custom-bound book. The cover read, embossed in gold, A Daughter's Gratitude. Oh, Chloe, she breathed, expecting sentimental photos and tributes. Her hand shook slightly as she opened it. The first page revealed a photograph of Mom, smiling before her illness. What is this? She asked, voice tight, curiosity and apprehension mingling. Keep going, I urged softly. It only gets clearer. Page by page, the book Mom had left me revealed her hidden work. Hotel receipts, bank statements, medical records, all carefully annotated in my tidy script. I watched Madeline's face change with each turn. Confusion, shock, anger, fear. By the section on the diverted trust funds, sweat streaked her makeup. This is insane, she muttered, yet her hands refused to stop. The final chapters detailed the reconstructed trust, pending legal maneuvers, and tomorrow's meeting with the Financial Crimes Division. Those offshore accounts you and Dad set up, I said, perched lightly on her vanity, aren't as secure as you thought. Her face paled. Did you realize 17 countries now share financial data electronically, or that every wire transfer leaves traceable timestamps linked to your phone? Madeline went silent. Your father and I are very interested in the terms I'm offering, I continued, smiling as the first guests arrived at the door. Better than prison, she muttered, knocking over her mimosa. Your guests are watching, I whispered, and I'm still deciding if I should show them Chapter 3. Her eyes flicked to the open page, showing text messages from the week Mom was hospitalized, complaints about hospital visiting hours interfering with dinner plans. What do you want? She hissed, fingers trembling as she adjusted her dress. You'll host the party, smile, laugh, and be the perfect hostess. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., you and Dad meet me at Judge Henderson's office to discuss terms for your continued freedom. Her eyes darted, seeking escape, finding none. This is blackmail, she said. No, I corrected gently. This is justice, with mercy, if you earn it. I moved toward the door. 30 seconds to fix your makeup. Guests are waiting. The party dragged on for 3 hours. Madeline held her composure with clenched hands and a rigid smile. I played the devoted daughter, toasting her supposed influence while letting her flinch at every layered comment only we understood. Chloe has been such a blessing, she told Mrs. Henderson, the judge's wife. I couldn't love her more. And she's taught me about loyalty and consequences, I added, meeting her gaze steadily. Mrs. Henderson glanced between us, sensing tension she couldn't place. Dad texted he was running late from golf. Perfect timing. The second gift awaited in his office, a matching book with documents specific to his involvement in the fraud. As guests filtered out, complimenting Madeline and congratulating me on Yale, I smiled politely, accepting hugs and handshakes, the weight of my knowledge hidden behind charm. Everything okay with Madeline? one of Dad's partners whispered. She's emotional about the adoption, I explained. After the last guest departed, I found Madeline in Mom's former garden, the sterile white furniture replacing the flowers Mom loved. Why now? She asked, not facing me. I learned patience from Mom, I said softly, smoothing my dress. I had to understand everything first. What do you want? I had imagined this moment for 2 years, expecting satisfaction or joy. Instead, staring at the woman who helped destroy my mother, I felt hollow. Dad transfers company control to me via Mom's trust. You both resign publicly, but stay on as consultants under my supervision. Diverted funds return to the trust. In exchange, no criminal charges, I said. She laughed bitterly. You're 16, you can't run a company. Almost 17 with Mom's trustees behind me, I replied. I've trained half my life for this. Dad's heavy footsteps echoed across the patio. Madeline gripped the armrest, certain he'd oppose. He already agreed, I said, straightening the necklace Mom left me. Check your phone. He saw his copy of your Mother's Day gift. His message? 3 words. She knows everything. Dad joined us, worn in the fading light. You didn't have to do this, he murmured. You could have told me the truth, I said. When Mom confronted you about the affair? About the trust? How did that go? He faltered. Company isn't just numbers, he tried. It's relationships, client trust. Mom's team is ready. Most never trusted you, only her memory. Madeline glared. You said they were loyal to me. He lied, I said, like he lied about your prenup, the one with the infidelity clause. Her head snapped toward him. What prenup? I have a copy, I said, along with proof of your continued affair. Hotel receipts, legal records. Did you really think audits wouldn't find them? Her color drained. Dad's expression shifted from confusion to fury. You told me that was over, he growled. It is, she said, eyes avoiding him. Chloe is manipulating you, Dad said. No, I countered. Direct approaches are my specialty. 9 a.m. tomorrow, judge's office. Don't be late. No leaving town. I have eyes on the house. I left them on the patio, whispers following me inside. I called Judge Henderson to confirm, emailed trustees with instructions to act if I didn't check in by noon. Sleep eluded me. I listened to muffled arguments, objects clattering, doors slamming. Around 3 a.m., a car drove off. By dawn, silence. I dressed carefully for the meeting. Mom's academic suit, pearl earrings, minimal makeup. Serious, professional, older than my years. Dad was alone at the kitchen island, red-rimmed eyes fixed on his coffee. Where's Madeline? I asked. Gone, he said. Took jewelry and car, left her phone, couldn't be traced. I anticipated this contingency. It complicates things but doesn't change them. She's not the primary stakeholder. He looked at me. You resemble her, your mother, fighting for what matters. The warmth and pain of the comparison hit me. The judge dislikes tardiness, I said. The meeting was concise. Dad, stripped of confidence, signed everything. Power of attorney, voting rights, resignation. Judge Henderson guided, neutral but cold-eyed. Any attempt to hide assets would trigger prepared criminal complaints. The company announcement follows our script. Family succession, honoring Catherine's legacy, the judge explained. Final signatures done, judge handed a document. No contact with me except through trustees until I turned 18. Dad's hand shook as he signed, Mom's pen in my hand. His shoulders sagged. Can I explain? He whispered. I've read every explanation, I said. Emails, memos, board statements, evaluating me as a figurehead. I understand perfectly. Judge Henderson ended the meeting. Dad would retrieve personal items under supervision. 2 months later, I sat at the head of Dad's conference table. The company transition framed as family succession, celebrated publicly. Dad was a figurehead, contracts monitoring every move. I inherited what was rightfully mine, plus oversight of Dad. Trustees guided me through stabilizing the company. Yale deferred, I focused on hands-on management. Madeline reappeared in Miami 3 weeks later, caught attempting access to flagged accounts. FBI intervened. 2 nights in jail, then monitored release to Connecticut. She became a limited client liaison. The prenup worked as planned. Dad divorced her, citing abandonment and infidelity, leaving her only the separation agreement allotment. She resisted, threatened exposure, but lawyers reminded her she'd be first target. Justice for Mom was impossible. Control of my future, protection of her legacy, and accountability for betrayal were not. Investigation into Mom's illness continued privately. Preserved tissue samples retested, vanity items examined, staff interviewed. Patterns suspicious, proof inconclusive. Dad denied involvement with food or medication. The company thrived. Diverted funds recovered, client relationships restored. I worked 16-hour days, often sleeping at the office. Home felt alien. I sold the family house, moved downtown near the office. Dad relocated, stripped of clubs and social standing after the transparent company statement. Last week, I visited Mom's grave. I did it, I whispered, placing wildflowers. Your legacy is protected. Across the cemetery, Madeline watched from a distance, a small bouquet in hand. She nodded and walked away. Some lessons take years. Some gifts keep giving long after they're opened. Every Mother's Day, I send Madeline a single photo of Mom smiling in her garden, a note reading, "Thinking of you today." She never replies, but I know she understands. It's the only language left.